Hey everyone, welcome back to Input. And I'm going to be talking to you guys, and that is still running in the background as I'm trying to talk. So this will be a review and a spoiler loaded review of Transformers Earthrise and a few theories about Transformers Earthrise I will be throwing out there. Now, if you guys haven't watched it yet, I would definitely go check it out. It is roughly about 2.5 hours long, and it's just general movie length. It's just a movie. There are 6 episodes, about 20 to 30 minutes each, so it's nothing too crazy. But yeah, so like I said, this will be a spoiler review and a Transformers theory conversation about Earthrise as well, because there's something that happens in Earthrise that really sparks a huge theory, at least for me anyway. So basically, this movie or this show picks up exactly where Siege leaves off. If you guys haven't watched Siege yet, or you guys don't know, the Allspark gets tossed into the space bridge by Optimus, um, and is essentially almost lost. Thought that it's lost. Hey, Ultra Marcus, welcome in, man. Survive Fan 23, welcome in. Deluxe, I'd stroke your beard. I'd stroke yours too, buddy. Pop the trunk, welcome in. So it picks up where Siege left off, and Siege, there are Chromia and Elita 1 and Jetfire. They're all left on Cybertron, and they basically rescuing prisoners, and then they find out that they're all Decepticons and they're all essentially POWs. Hey, Jay Hollow, welcome in. And that kind of sets a tone, like a dark tone, sort of for the show. I mean, the show's already dark in tone, but it really kind of sets it up to be even a little bit darker in the sense of what is about to be revealed in the show about what Megatron is doing to the Decepticons and everything else. So the initial first episode is pretty much catching everybody up of what everybody's up to, what everyone is doing, and all that good crazy stuff. You do see the Ark, you do see the Autobots. They are all pretty much passed out, and then you get to see the mercenaries of Ramjet and Thrust and Ramjet and Bugbite and Double Dealer. They just kind of storm the Ark. It's just kind of floating in space. And Bumblebee wakes up, and they pretty much have this fight. You do find out later on that it is the Quinasana is basically they put a bounty on the Autobot's head and the Ark and everything else. It's very, very interesting. That first episode, because it sets up, and not only does it set up, it also builds upon what Siege did as well. I'm not going to do, just so you guys know, I'm not going to do an episodic breakdown. I was actually thinking about doing an episodic review breakdown and everything, but this probably won't be it. I'm more interested with the theory, which I'm getting to, which I'll get to eventually. But yeah, it's so you do find out somewhere down the line that the different sectors are running out of energy, they're running out of power. The Decepticons, Megatron isn't really fixing them or helping them out or anything along those lines, and they're shutting sectors off one by one. And they're basically, at this point, you think it's like they're conserving energy or something. It's not really understood exactly what's going on. But I will say there's a really powerful scene in the first episode where Megatron is speaking, and it seems like he's speaking to himself, and he's actually talking to Ultra Magnus's decapitated head. It's sitting on a table. Honestly, for a show that is rated Y7, which is kids, I would feel like that would be a pretty dark scene. Um, uh, that would be a really dark scene for a kid to see. Just I know they're robots and they're fictional characters and all that stuff. And there's no blood all over it. You don't see the decapitation, but then again, I don't know. I grew up watching RoboCop, the first one, so who am I to judge or criticize that, right? But yeah, Jay Holler in chat says Meg's officially lost it. Yeah, I do definitely agree. Ultra Marcus says very Hamlet, that decapitated head thing. Yeah, for sure. And it's very I wouldn't call it mind blowing, but it did kind of uh put me back in the seat a little bit, kind of like, oh, what's going on here? That kind of thing. But yeah, but it's done really, really well. It's not really, the head isn't shown or anything. It's just this dark scene that he's talking, and then when he starts to walk away, the camera kind of pans out, and you see Ultra Magnus's head just kind of sitting there. It is very much so. He's officially lost it at that point. Um, so then you find out the whole reason why. Then Shockwave wants, and trust me, this review is going to be jumping around, but I am going to get to the key points of the review. Um, so Shockwave is basically asking Megatron to shut down different sectors and stuff like that, and so it's Megatron goes out to Sector 12. Shockwave wants to shut down Sector 12 specifically, and Megatron goes out and he sees what he's working with. He's seeing all of Decepticons that are pretty much in this one closet, and 92% of their workforce is in this closet, and it is crazy. And then, but I feel bad because they greet Megatron like he's a hero, like he is the hero of Kaon, from the pits and all that stuff. And they're treating him like such. They're treating him like a celebrity. They're very kind to Megatron. They're very accommodating to Megatron. And but Megatron in the end decides to shut it down, and you find out that he is harvesting their sparks for the Nemesis project, which you find out that he has built the Nemesis ship to go after the Ark. Um, and it's pretty it's pretty intense seeing how Megatron drains the sparks and all that other stuff. It does get pretty intense. Um, Now, Nemesis, the ship, isn't quite finished, um, and they do end up leaving Cybertron and going after the Ark. And a lot of the survivors from Siege, the Autobot survivors, um, while they end up rescuing a lot of Decepticons from a lot of these different camps and stuff like that, at the end, they end up, because they did that, a lot of Decepticons end up helping them to stop Shockwave and Megatron and stuff like that. Um, but Elita 1 is captured by Shockwave, and while her team is in the Decepticon headquarters, and is essentially just shackled to a just a table, an operation table kind of thing. So basically, like, Shockwave is getting ready to experiment on her, and he gets called away. And her team has been out setting explosions around the base this entire time, and the explosions end up going off with her in with Elita 1 inside of the base, and it's and Chromio gets caught in the blast as well. So it's hinted at that Elita 1 is dead, and it's shown Chromio getting blown to bits. So very, very likely that Chromia is dead. unless they pull some kind of junkie on thing and rub some magic hand lotion on her or something and then piece her back together. But yeah, it is very, very I would say very clear that Chromia is dead when all of this happens. And that's roughly the first I'd say like the first half of the series. Um, let's see. Jay Hollis says Shockwave is slightly bananas. Yeah, for sure. And Shockwave in this series, you really get to see a side of him, like his experimental side of his thought process and stuff, which is really really cool. That they implemented that into the show. Um, so the Nemesis finds the Ark, and while they are searching for the Ark, um, well, jumping ahead a little bit, let me rewind. So you get to see the Quintessons, the Autobots get captured, and they go to the Quintessons, and the mercenaries have caught them, and they basically double deal wants his payment. And the Quintesson is doing his Quintesson thing. The faces are switching and swapping. He's talking to himself, or they're talking to each other, or however you want to look at that. Hey, Optimus Prime, what's going on? Let's see. He says, "What's up, Paul? I can tell you that they won't be returning to Cybertron to see the outcome during Kingdom. At least that's what FJ DeSanto has stated." Okay. Well, that's definitely a bit of a shame there. I guess the whole Cybertron thing was more for the audience than anything. Mr. Jones says, my favorite part was when Leader One and the rest of the GoBots showed up. That's my favorite part too. That happened right before they got to Earth. Um, but so yeah, there's this. The Quintesson is doing his Quintesson thing. Guilty, innocent. The head's spinning around. It's talking to itself, or he's talking. They're all talking to each other. I mean, however you want to phrase that, however you want to look at that, and it's pretty. It's pretty interesting because I feel like this is the '86 Quintesson, but turned up right to like 11. Um, it's done really well. I'll say that. So there's a really crazy scene of the Quintesson actually with a laser scalpel is cutting off its own faces, its extra faces. Um, and these faces are hitting the ground, and they're hitting the ground with this hard metal like thud, and I don't know. It's sound effects and cartoons and animation really can either make a scene or destroy a scene. And I feel like the sound effect really made the scene in this one. Just like I said, it sounds like steel hitting concrete. Because what it does, at least for me, it takes a very impactful scene, right? And it adds even more oomph to it, literally and figuratively, because of the sound effect. It's got extra weight to it, literally, because it's hitting the ground like steel, and like I said, figuratively. And that Quintesson ends up it loses its mind. It's got one face now, and it's basically on a one face, one Quintesson. I don't know how to say that, or how you would say that. Basically, you know, like a rampage kind of thing. Ultramarcus says, or Jay Holler says that Quint did some gruesome. Yep, yeah, for sure. Ultramarcus says it was horrific, cutting off its own sewn faces. I loved it. Yeah. Rodimus says my wife cringed during the Quint mutilation scene. Yeah, it's super crazy. Um, hey Danny, welcome in. Let's see. But yeah, it's a very impactful scene. And I really enjoyed it. But like that just sets up the Quintesson's tone for the rest of the show. And I really feel like they really nailed that. They didn't drop the ball at all. They showed that it was extremely psychotic, and they lived up to that for the every time it was uh on set after that, or on on scene or on set, or stage, whatever, on screen. That's what I'm looking for. Um, it really lived up to that after that, and it's done extremely well. Um, then you end up in the Dead universe. Now, this is where I didn't watch any of the trailers at all. I didn't. When something like this happens, I usually go in complete media blackout for this stuff, right? Because I don't want to see anything that could spoil anything or anything like that. So you do get a scene, a really cool scene with Skylinks and Alpha Trion. Now, this is taking place uh, sometime in the past, and at this point, he's the Autobots are in the Dead universe, right? Um, so let's see. Rodimus says, or Jay Holler says, if I had the Quint, I would remove the other four faces, right? That yeah, dude, that's actually a really good call on that one with the toy. Yeah, I definitely see somebody doing that. Rodimus says it's the first time one Quint had a multiple personality disorder. Cyberverse did that too. Yeah, Cyberverse did that too as well. Um, and so they're all in the Dead universe, and Skylinks is talking to Prime, and you get to see this flashback of Skylinks, and you really get to see his arrogance. Now, in this, I feel like there's two different levels of arrogance, right? There's arrogance where like G1 Skylinks is, where he's just full of himself. He's like really pretty, and he's like super full of himself because he's so pretty and that kind of stuff. And he's like super intelligent and he knows it. That's just like super arrogant, right? But then there's like another side of arrogance, I feel like, where it's overconfidence, right? And they can kind of blend together, the two. And I feel like that's what they did with Skylinks here. They made him extremely overconfident while extremely arrogant. And that was a really cool twist on the whole idea of Skylinks, his arrogance and stuff like that. But he's talking to Alpha Trion, and Skylinks wants the Matrix, and Alpha Trion's like, you can't handle the power, you can't handle the truth, and all that other stuff. And then Skylinks actually leaps at Alpha Trion to attack Alpha Trion. And Alpha Trion, with his staff of Solus, actually sends him to the Dead universe, instantly banishes him. And it's done super, super cool. It did remind me of a lot in Transformers Prime when somebody would leap at Soundwave, and Soundwave would open up the portal in front of them, and they would go through it. That's what it reminded me of. So I don't know if that was a callback to that or something like that or anything like that, but that it did remind me of that. I thought that was a super cool thing. And it's just Alpha Trion just stood sturdy, no fear, didn't step back, didn't flinch or anything. He just opened it, and that was the end of it. And it was really, really cool to see something like that, especially from Alpha Trion, where most of the time you think Alpha Trion, you really only think G1. He's very gentle, kind of, not very, I guess, as stoic as you would think, but this one is um, very action oriented in a sense, right? Like he's there to accomplish something, and nothing's going to stand in his way. That's what I got from. That's the feeling that I get of this Alpha Trion. The Dead universe also shows Skylinks ends up showing Prime what he can become if he loses his way while he holds the Matrix, and it flashes Nemesis Prime. The red eyes, the red glow, all of that stuff. And I thought that was a super, super neat idea that if, he loses his way and he's not true to himself anymore, he could become Nemesis Prime. And I feel like that opens up a whole different slew of ideas. If he loses his way and he still has the Matrix, does the Matrix become corrupted as well? Is it a warning for the Matrix to become corrupted as well? Is the Matrix not as pure in this universe as it is in other universe? Because it can become corrupted. It adds a lot of questions and a lot of ideas to that. Now, in the Dead universe, Skylinks is almost like the fortune teller, so to speak, kind of role to Optimus Prime while he's in the Dead Universe. Megatron is in there as well with the Decepticons, and you get to see a really cool homage because Megatron has his fortune teller as well in Galvatron, and you get to see this really cool homage to the '86 movie when Galvatron shows up. The digital grid pops up, and then Galvatron begins to form in, and he even takes the classic pose when he gets from the '86 movie when Galvatron gets formatted. It's a really cool, neat homage, and I thought it was really well done. And so Galvatron shows up, and he's talking to Megatron. Now, this is where my theory actually comes in for multiple universes for the Siege universe, right? So the Galvatron that we see is purple. Now, the only Galvatron that I can think of that is purple in color that we have actually seen in lore that isn't Shattered Glass Galvatron, but that purple G1 Galvatron, you know, with the horns and the cannon on his arm, that very specific G1 design in purple is actually G1 Galvatron from the cartoon. And so now I'm thinking, now here, you know, this is all theory, multiple universes and stuff like that come into play. Now, G1 Galvatron shows up because he's still trying to get away from Unicron. Unicron is at this point, if Galvatron can travel between dimensions and Unicron can keep his tether to Galvatron, that would make Unicron a universal singularity again. Now, not necessarily again, but it would make him a universal singularity. Why that's important is that places this story in a very specific timeline in all the universes. The Cybertron and Unicron were universal singularities until the universes got moved further apart. And then when that happened, each universe developed its own Unicron and its own Cybertron or Primus at that point. Now, stories can take place before and after, but if Unicron is a singularity in this story, then that would put the Siege and Earthrise cartoon before the singularity happens. Let's see. Let me get caught up on chat real quick before I keep going. Let's see. He's not a bird unless he was blasted out of the universe. I watched it last night. Starscream's Gut says he watched it and he loved it. Yeah, I love the series too. The series kills off characters way too quick, the good characters at least. I would agree with that. Skylynx gets disintegrated. Let's see. I think Kingdom will explain some of that, but Nemesis is the Dead Universe copy of Optimus. Yeah. Much like how we saw the angry Skylynx during episode 5. Yeah, definitely. I can see that. Is the sound breaking up on anyone? Yeah, Input's mic sounds off. Roger that. Okay, how's that? Can you guys hear me okay now? Sounds garbled at times. Weird. Okay, let me see. How's that? Can you guys hear that? Is that better? Yeah, no, maybe, possibly. So the whole theory of the universal singularity kind of puts that in the Unicron being a universal singularity puts that before the universe separate or universe split, right? It's post singularity and pre-singularity, and I think this will definitely have to be pre-singularity in that regards. So yeah, I think, and that's something that's super, super cool just to think about, and that's my theory, that's a Transformers theory, if you will. But Galvatron is shown to be pretty powerful in this, as he should be. And it cuts to Unicron basically when everything's said and done and all the lessons are learned from this entire thing, Unicron ends up pulling Galvatron back, and input becomes sea spray. So let me. You guys, is that better? Is that better? Let's see. He needs Megatron to take the Matrix and kill Unicron, so Megatron doesn't have to become Galvatron. Yeah, and that's part of it as well. But if that does happen, then it doesn't fix what happens in that universe. It creates a branching timeline. So in some regards, it does happen, right? It does save Megatron from becoming Galvatron, but Galvatron still has to become Galvatron, or Megatron still has to become Galvatron to time travel back to warn Megatron to not become Galvatron, and basically do that. So it creates this forced timeline. So it's always going to branch off no matter what. Galvatron needs to be created to warn Megatron. And then when Galvatron ends up getting pulled back in by Unicron, he throws Megatron the golden disc, the golden disc from Beast Wars and stuff. That is Galvatron's plan for Megatron not to become Galvatron. Right. But it has to, but that's what I'm saying. It has to happen no matter what for that warning to exist. Does that make sense? Just from, because it'll create a alternate timeline, alternate dimension where that doesn't happen, and Siege will probably be that timeline where Megatron will never become Galvatron. But without Galvatron to warn him, then it will, like, what I'm saying is, like, Galvatron always has to be created for Megatron not to become Galvatron, for that warning to exist. So, and that's why I think Galvatron from the G186 cartoon, that's the Galvatron that we're looking at, because his design is very reminiscent of the original Galvatron design, and he's still tethered to Unicron the way that he is, and Unicron is very, and Unicron's pulling him back from another dimension, right? From an alternate timeline, from an alternate dimension. Because if then that Galvatron is either the future of the Siege cartoon, from the future of the Siege cartoon, or it's from a alternate timeline of the 86 movie. So, but either way, like I said, Galvatron has to exist for Megatron to not become Galvatron. So where think about it like this way, where the Wings universe is extremely close to the G1 cartoon universe, and it does have its differences and its similarities. Things have happened in the G1 continuity for the Wings universe to become a thing, right? So that's what would happen here, where the Siege, you could get like Siege 2 or Siege, I don't know, like Siege 2.0 or whatever, like an alternate Siege universe from this. But that Galvatron would always have to exist in that mainline Siege universe for Megatron not to become Galvatron. Let's see. Rodimus says, I believe it's from a universe similar to the UK comics. I can definitely see that. The real question is, are we getting a new Galvatron figure? I hope so. I mean, I'm one of the oddballs who actually likes the Titans Return Galvatron. That's because I love Galvatron, and so I really do hope that we get a new Galvatron. See, Jay Hollis says Galvatron was announced in Kingdom. Yeah, but nothing. I don't know, man. When Hasbro starts pulling ideas and stuff away, I kind of lose hope at that situation. Plus, Galvatron was rumored for Kingdom; it really wasn't confirmed. Let's see, rumored list says yes. So yeah, it's not Galvatron isn't confirmed or anything like that yet. Um, I do hope that if we do get him, I do hope that he's based on his 86 movie design or the G1 cartoon design, because this version of Galvatron was really bulky, like very, very buffed out, like very, very brute looking, like very like a heavy gunner. That's what he reminded me of. His chest was real big, his shoulders were real wide. Um, so I'm hoping that we do get one, but it's based more on the classic G1 slimline design, where because like I said, this one was more buffed out and stuff as a design. I like the design, don't get me wrong, but I will say that while he looked cool, he was very buffed out, and it's just preference, right? Like I'm kind of repeating myself. Um, Leader Galvatron, Commander Class Optimus Prime in Kingdom. See, that's the thing. If Commander Class Rodimus is a thing, I would hope he's only Commander Class because of the trailer that he would have to come with. And I hope he would at least be like a leader class, like a commander class Rodimus that's the size of Jetfire. I hope that's not the case because that'd be really, really big. Same with the transforming arc. Let's see. He should be in the third wave and toy colored selects figure. That would be cool if they did a toy colored. I would be totally down for a gray Galvatron. That'd be kind of cool. Who is not the last Autobot, as I found out? Oh, the Arc isn't the last Autobot. Is that what you're saying, Rodimus? Um, we know we're getting Arc. What about Nemesis? So it's been said. Hasbro has said that, and we'll go a little bit more into depth on Tales tomorrow on the Tales podcast tomorrow. But the Arc will be the final Titan. They have no plans to redo a Metroplex, re-release Metroplex, anything like that. Now I will say, like we talked about last night on New Year's Bash, Winston, what's up, man? Long time no see. No worries about being late. You're good. I will say that if we get a Titan class arc, it'd be a shame not to get a Nemesis to go with it, because I feel like, you know, you got to have the yin and the yang, the good and the bad, you know, the hero and the villain type of thing. So it'd be a shame if we didn't get a Nemesis, but it doesn't look like we're going to get a transforming Nemesis, which is highly unfortunate. But yeah, so Galvatron throws Megatron the golden disc, and the golden disc disappears, and that's the last time that you see the golden disc. It's there, it materializes, it spins around, the camera focuses on it so you can see exactly what it is, and then it dematerializes just as fast as it materialized, and that's really the last time you see it. So not too sure where exactly the golden disc went to. If it disappeared with Galvatron, if it's still attached to him, which I don't think is the case, or if it's just laid out on the floor. I don't know. You just didn't get to see that. Now, like I said, in this review, I'll be hitting the key points, and then I'll go into different things like voice acting and stuff like that. So shortly after this, you get to see the arc. They are teleported to Earth space, right? And they crash land. And the last thing that we get to see in this is Dinobot, Beast Wars Dinobot, Raptor mode, and his eye. It's a regular eye, and then it goes over, like reptiles have like that second layer or that second eyelid, and that goes over, and then it comes back, and it's like a Terminator eye. It's actually a really cool scene done with that, and Dinobot looked amazing. I know it's been 20 years, right? 25 years since Beast Wars, since their designs were made, but he looked really faithful to the original Dinobot design and Dinobot model. It was very spot on. Looked really, really good. And it really kind of blew me away the way Dinobot looked. It was really good. Dinobot doesn't speak or anything, which is perfectly fine. I wouldn't want him to growl or gargle or do anything. What they did with him was perfect. Let's see. Ramen says, I would not be surprised if the arc is Vector Prime. Oh, that's a good call. Let's see. He's not the last Autobot, but he is the last Titan. Yeah, that's the rumor going around. Yeah. That Dinobot model looked pretty close to the old mainframe model, so that was cool to see. Yeah, I agree. That's what blew me away when he popped up on screen. 100% looked like the updated mainframe model. It was really, really nice. And it really made me feel like, Beast Wars was in good hands here, as far as faithful designs while being able to be updated, which is really nice. See, Rodman says, I heard Hasbro is ending the Titan after the arc since all the big names are out. Shame, no Omega Sentinel, Metro Titan, or Gigastorm. Yeah, definitely a shame. I know Metro Titan was planned for SDCC, but one of the so basically the SDCC Metroplex that we got with the chrome shins or the chrome thighs, that was originally going to be Metro Titan, but Hasbro's marketing executive at the time put the kibosh on that because they said that no one would know who Metro Titan was, so it wouldn't be purchased and all that other stuff. So it is a shame that no Metro Titan is going to come to that. No Omega Sentinel. That is definitely a shame because I feel like the Omega Sentinel would sell out like that because of how many people want an Omega Sentinel. That would be a hell of an army builder too. I feel like Hasbro could make a ton of money on that. And no Gigastorm. Yeah, Gigastorm, that is definitely a shame because that I feel like would be a really good repaint, a really easy repaint, and the only thing they would have to add any kind of tooling to would be the horn, and that would be it. Hopefully, maybe we could, maybe a petition or something get made for them to make some of those figures, Rodimus, as like maybe a Hasbro Pulse or a Hasbro Selects or something like that. Don't kill me on that idea. I know people are very anti-exclusive, especially nowadays, but maybe that could be something that could, after the arc and maybe a petition or something could start going around or whatever, something like that to show Hasbro that there still is interest in those characters. A Black Zarak repaint of Scorponok would have been neat too. Yeah, I agree. But I will say, Ultramarcus, unfortunately, we do have fortunately, we got Grand Max, right? Unfortunately, however, the pre-orders did not go as well as planned. So I think Hasbro and Takara Tomy are looking at Grand Max and basically decided because of his sales and his lack of pre-order numbers that Black Zarak probably won't happen. And that's just my theory on it. But the reason why I say that's my theory, the reason why that is my theory is because Brave Maximus had a goal of 3,500 pre-orders to get Gran. That's Gran, Gran, the little guy, the pretender, to go with him. They didn't reach that goal. They got 25 or so hundred in that range, basically enough to put it into production, but not enough to reach that goal. So I think they're looking at that number and basically saying that maybe God Master Force isn't as popular, or maybe Zarak and Grand Max maybe aren't as popular characters as they used to be, or as they thought they were, or something along those lines. It's a bit of a tragedy on that one. And Jay Holler, exactly. That's what I was about to get to. Scorponok shelf warmed like crazy. He did here too. I was finding Scorponok on clearance here for $60 to $70 at Target, roughly a month or so after I had received mine from BBTS. So take that for what you will. Let's see. Mr. Jones says, I need new Master Force and Victory figures. 100% agree with that. I'd love a new Star Saber. 100% agree with that. I love the one we got from Masterpiece. 100%. But I will say, Power of the Primes, it was all about evolution gimmicks. No other Transformers character is more about evolution gimmicks than Star Saber, right? Like that line, that whole idea, that play dynamic was totally meant for Star Saber, and Star Saber didn't happen. Rodimus says, I saw him once. Scorponok. I saw Scorponok once, 2 on the shelf, didn't have the money. He was gone after that. Yeah, that's crazy. I think just distribution problems this year. If that's probably the case, what's going on there. I will say the voice acting for the show had stepped up. Earthrise's voice acting was a lot better than Siege was. I don't know if Siege had a voice director. I don't know if it had a good voice director. I mean, there were times at Siege where I felt like there was no voice directing at all. People just kind of showed up and then they did their lines and went home, and no one really cared about the end product. I didn't get that feeling with Earthrise. I still don't like Megatron's voice or line delivery. It's very slow, very Optimus, this will be our final. And it's just kind of like, come on. I know it's there. Come on, get it out. I wasn't too thrilled with the way Megatron was delivering his lines and stuff. If he just sped it up just a little bit, he doesn't have to speak fast or anything, but just sped it up enough to kind of get out of that slowness, right? It's one thing to do it every once in a while, but it's another thing to be consistent with it. And I didn't really care for that. And I didn't really care for it in Siege either. And I was kind of hoping Earthrise would kind of move away from that just a little bit, but it didn't. But the acting in it was better, right? Because voice acting isn't just line work, right? It's grunts, it's noises, it's fight sounds. It's all kinds of different things that go into it. It's acting. You're not being seen, but you are acting. And I will say that the acting in this one was done. Megatron's case was done really well. Let's see. Everything with the toy line was poor distribution this year. 100% agree with that, Rodimus. Jay Holler says, Optimus Prime's yelling voice was rather disturbing. I will agree with that. That at time, when I first heard it, I thought somebody else was doing the voice. Almost as if the original voice actor or the voice actor for Prime left and they got somebody else. And that was the new actor's version of Prime. It didn't sound like the same actor at all. And it didn't sound like an extension of that Optimus Prime voice. And that is, I guess, I would say that's my biggest issue with Prime's voice is when he's yelling. It doesn't sound like an extension of the Prime voice from Siege and Earthrise. It sounds like a completely different character, different actor, basically a completely different Prime. So it's very off-putting. It's like I said, it's very off-putting. Mr. Jones says the only thing that bothered me, it was Prime's yelling voice. Yeah, it was like a different person, 100%. Let's see. Rodimus says the Dark Knight Batman out of Optimus. Yeah, right. Soundwave 2, yeah, I find Soundwave in this series I find to be very hard to understand, just because of how much they change the voice actor's voice to get that Soundwave tone out of it. I find Soundwave very difficult to understand, to the point to where I watched the show when Soundwave popped up. I couldn't understand it. I rewound it just a little bit and turned the subtitles on so I can understand what Soundwave was saying. I shouldn't have to do that, but it is what it is. You know, I feel like that's last year's, you know, that's last year's catchphrase. It is what it is, right? Starscream was on the money, 100% on the money. I forget the voice actors for Starscream. He's played Starscream since the Machinima series. Frank something. I forget his last name, but he does an amazing Starscream. I am glad, truthfully, that he has taken up the helm of Starscream because it's very well done, Starscream. Yeah, the Soundwave voice was awful. We should have heard Ravage eject. 100% agree with that. Yeah, that should have been clear as day heard. Let's see. I'm going through chat right now. Sorry, guys. I thought John Bailey was doing Prime in this series. No, it's the guy who's doing Prime in this series is the guy who did Prime in Cyberverse. Let's see, but I haven't looked up any voice actors. Yeah. Plus Prime doesn't yell. Let's see. Gotta go, guys. Good talking with you later, Rodimus. Hoping Stevie P drops one of the legendary redubs. I agree. Hey, Curtis, welcome in, man. My mic is crackling still. Oh man. All right. I don't think there's too much I can do about that. Let's see. Prime had Curtis. Let me know if it's still crackling. If the crackling goes away, all that good stuff. Prime has a strong baritone, so he didn't have to yell. Yeah, I agree with that. Prime's voice, even when Prime does yell, it's more of like a stern, firm, speaking type of thing. Like he's not necessarily yelling, but he's talking very firm. You know, he's loud. You know, he raises his voice without yelling. That's what I'm trying to say. Prime does, and that should be Prime's go-to thing. But I will say in this one, I don't know. It's shown that Prime got the Matrix from Alpha Trion in this one, in this series, but I'm not too sure how long he's been Prime. Still crackling. Okay. Let's see. My mic cable might be going out. Let's see. Try that. How's that? Is that better? Jake Fushi is Prime. There you go. Right there. From Mr. Jones. Amazon has Earthrise Optimus Prime with trailer for $39.95 right now, guys. Yeah, they also had Kingdom Optimus Prime as well. Same figure, but they also had Kingdom. So if that one sold out on Amazon, the Earthrise one, they should have the Kingdom one up as well. But yeah, the voice acting has gotten better in Earthrise, but it's still, I still kind of feel like there's no voice director to help that voice actors out, right? I will say that Prime yelling is very very weird, you know, very, very off-putting, very odd. No, Ella, it's okay. I can go through. Okay. Yeah, Frank Todaro is Starscream. Yeah, he's been Starscream for a while. Does a very good. Look, no one will replace Chris Latta. Let's just put that out there right now. But Frank does a very, very good Starscream. You know, very, very well, very good homage to Frank Latta's Starscream. But like I said, no one's going to be Chris Latta. No one's going to be able to do that voice. So, and Jay says, oh, that's because they have Kingdom Prime. Okay, so they're probably just advertising, kind of like what they did with Siege Astro Train, and then people just started getting Earthrise Astro Train instead. That's probably what's going on there. So that makes sense. But yeah, I would say, is Earthrise worth a watch? If you haven't watched Siege, sounded good for a minute. Oh man, I think I'm gonna have to replace this cable. I think that my cable's dying. Let's see. How's that? I will say that if you watch Siege, you didn't really care for Siege, give Earthrise a shot. And if you don't like Earthrise, it's totally okay. But I feel like Earthrise is worth a watch. I really enjoyed Earthrise. So like I said, definitely worth a watch. Definitely worth at least the 2.5 hours. Probably ain't got nothing else to do. So like I said, most likely I would definitely check out Earthrise. It does continue where Siege leaves off. So if you didn't see Siege, you might want to watch Siege and then Earthrise. Earthrise was a good watch and a nice lead into Kingdom. Yeah, absolutely. Jay Holler said it best. Earthrise actually made me excited for Kingdom. Just because of all the different theories and stuff that popped up because of Earthrise, because of Galvatron, because of Unicron, because of Nemesis Prime showing up the way that he shows up. And the Dead Universe Nemesis Prime is a homage right there to Nova Prime, from IDW, right? Ends up in the Dead Universe, becomes Nemesis Prime for IDW. So that's a really cool touch. And so yeah, definitely check it out. It does get me excited for Kingdom. So I'm really excited to see where they go after Earthrise. So definitely check out Earthrise. Check out Siege if you plan on checking out Earthrise, because like I said, Earthrise does pick up where Siege leaves off. And also, guys, thanks for watching. As always, thanks for watching the Tales from Teltran New Year's Bash last night over on Danny Dolphin's channel. And I lost video, and so yeah, just lost videos of you guys. I don't know what got lost, but yeah, thanks for tuning in last night to the Tales from Teltran New Year's Bash on Danny Dolphin's channel. Thanks for watching this. I'm gonna look into getting a new cable because I think my cable's dying. My mic cable's dying. But yeah, and don't forget, we got the Tales from Teltran podcast tomorrow night right here on the Input channel. So as always, guys, stay safe. Love all you guys out there, and see you next video. See you tomorrow. And tomorrow we have Toys R Us on the show. Thanks for having us, Input, man. Not a problem, Ultra Markets. You guys are always welcome to come. I love it. Siege and Earthrise, they have faults, but again, only so much money and money and time. Yeah, I agree. 100% agree. And tomorrow for the Tales podcast, we'll have Toys R Us on. That's Toys R Us. So yeah, we'll have him. We'll be talking to him, and he'll be picking our brains and vice versa and doing all that good, crazy stuff. So as always, guys, love you guys. Stay safe and cut it out. Later.